The broken neon truth. The broken neon truth. The rain fell in sheets across the city, each drop carrying with it the weight of secrets long buried. Max Reeves stood motionless at his office window, watching the neon signs below flicker like dying stars. 7 years as a champion boxer, 15 as a private investigator, and still the city found ways to surprise him with its capacity for darkness. The envelope had arrived 3 days ago. Inside, a single photograph of Rachel Monroe's socialite, now missing for 36 hours, and a handwritten note bearing 5 words: "Find her, no police, payment enclosed." The stack of cash spoke of desperation. The handwriting, elegant yet hurried, spoke of fear. Max knew he couldn't navigate the digital labyrinth surrounding the Monroes alone. The family had built their empire on technology. After all, their fingers touched every network, every camera in the city. Which is why, against his better judgment, he now found himself climbing the crumbling stairs of the Blackthorn building, seeking the one person who could move through the Monroe's digital empire undetected. Ava Chen's apartment smelled of electronics and instant coffee. The walls were plastered with newspaper clippings, strings connecting seemingly unrelated events. Her eyes, sharp and distrustful, had assessed Max instantly. They recognized each other for what they were: broken people seeking redemption in a city that offered none. Her fingers had hesitated over her keyboard before agreeing to help, not for the money he offered, but for a chance to expose the corruption she'd been tracking for years. The partnership was uneasy. Max, with his worn leather jacket and old-school methods, Ava with her advanced algorithms and deep-seated rage against the system. They retraced Rachel's final movements, from the gleaming Monroe Tower to the forgotten waterfront district, where her credit card had last been used. There, in a dive bar reeking of spilled whiskey and regret, the bartender recalled Rachel's final conversation, hushed, urgent, with a figure whose face remained in shadow. The investigation led them through the city's underbelly past corrupt officials who averted their eyes when Max mentioned the Monroe name, through nightclubs where Ava's hacking revealed secret cameras tracking select patrons, into abandoned subway tunnels, where they discovered a hidden server farm processing data stolen from government database. On the 5th night, they survived their first encounter with the Rata figure in black, whose movements spoke of military training, whose silver eyes betrayed no emotion as he fired shots that narrowly missed them. The chase through rain-slicked LA left Max with 3 broken ribs and Ava with the certainty that they were closer to the truth than anyone had gotten before. The pieces began to align like constellations forming in the night sky. Rachel's private communications, extracted by Ava from forgotten servers. Financial transaction revealing millions funneled to offshore accounts. Surveillance footage showing Rachel arguing fiercely with her father in his penthouse office 3 nights before her disappearance. What emerged was a conspiracy spanning decades: toxic waste dumped in poor neighborhoods, concert rate carefully concealed, judges and officials paid to look the other way. Monroe Industry had built their fortune on suffering, and Rachel had discovered it all. Her disappearance wasn't a kidnapping. It was an escape or an execution. The revelation came on a night when the rain briefly ceased. Standing on the rooftop of Monroe Tower, having bypassed security through a combination of Ava's technical skills and Max's ability to persuade with his fists, they discovered the final piece. Rachel's private server, hidden behind a false wall in her father's office, contained the evidence she had gathered and her plans. Rachel Monroe hadn't been taken. She had orchestrated every finger disappearance. The envelope to Max, even arranging for him to find Ava Dow. She had positioned her pieces carefully, knowing her father would send the Wraith to silence anyone who came looking. What she hadn't anticipated was that the Wraith would find her first. The confrontation came at midnight on the observation deck of the city's tallest building. The Wraith, revealed to be Rachel's own half-brother, disowned, remade through surgery, and trained as her father's personal enforcer, held Rachel at the edge. His loyalty, purchased through promise of legitimacy, wavered as Max and Ava appeared. In those rain-soaked moments, as lightning illuminated the city below, truth spilled like blood. Rachel had never intended to expose her family. She had planned to blackmail them, to seize control of the Empire herself. The Wraith Amass, once engaged to Rachel before discovering her true nature, had intended to complete his mission, then disappear with the evidence. The struggle unfolded in seconds that stretched like hours. A gunshot echoed across the night. Rachel's body fell, not from the bullet, but from her own desperate lunge at the evidence Thomas held. Her fall lasted an eternity, her expression not one of fear, but of rage at being denied what she believed was rightfully hers. In the aftermath, as police sirens wailed in the distance, Max and Ava stood with Thomas in the returning rain. The evidence, secured on drive they now possessed, could bring down Monroe Industries, expose decades of corruption, and bring justice to countless victims. But the cost had been steep in blood, in trust, in the innocence. All three had long ago surrendered to the city's darkness. They parted ways as gray dawn broke over the horizon. Thomas disappeared into the shadows he had inhabited for so long. Max returned to his office. The payment from the envelope donated anonymously to the victims his investigation had uncovered. Ava retreated to her apartment to begin releasing the evidence through channels that couldn't be traced or stopped. The rain continued to fall, washing blood from the streets, but not from their hand. The neon lights still flickered across puddles like fragments of truth, beautiful, ephemeral, impossible to grasp for long. In this city of shadows, Max and Ava had illuminated one corner, but both knew that darkness always returned, bringing with it new secrets, new conspiracies, new broken souls seeking redemption or revenge. What remained between them was unspoken, a bond forged in danger, an understanding that in a world where truth was the most valuable and dangerous commodity, they had found in each other something rare: trust, not the blind faith of innocence, but the hard-earned respect of survivors who had gazed into the abyss and returned to tell the tale. As the city awakened to headlines that would shatter its foundations, Max watched the rain from his window and knew that somewhere in her own window, Ava was watching too. In a city built on lie, they had uncovered a broken truth on that had cost Rachel Monroe her life, but might yet save countless others. It wasn't redemption, not completely, but perhaps it was a start.